We finally made it to game day. Now Auburn needs to get out of Waco.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We finally made it. Yes. Welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We're dapping it up with the Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend, hanging out with us. Kind of our boots on the ground this weekend out in Waco. Darrell, we finally made it. We'll drop our final predictions for Auburn versus Baylor, as well as make sure everybody's aware of what's actually at stake here. But let's start with where Auburn should beat Baylor. And to me, I think there's several mismatches that dramatically impact and slant towards the Auburn side of things. And I know you agree as well. And we were talking on the phone, before we sat down to talk about this. Keldric Faulk, I think, is going to be a problem in this game. I think if Keldric Faulk plays at the level we all anticipate him playing, I think he single-handedly has a chance to ruin some of the things that Baylor wants to do offensively.
Yes, he does. And I think it's the one thing that I keep going back to is Baylor does have some strength as a football team. They've got some areas that jump out at you.
Yes.
But the ironic part to me is those strengths that Baylor have are exactly the strengths that Auburn has to counter that. So let's just say Auburn's secondary was awful and they had no future top 10 defensive linemen in the NFL draft on their team, and they couldn't get a pass rush. And yeah, Sawyer Robertson could expose that. But I think Auburn, their strength is him and their offense. And I think Auburn lines up with that. That's the obvious thing. The secondary, the pass rush. Faulk, more than any other person tonight, has an opportunity to be the disruptor. Now that's coming, from a pass rush standpoint or crashing from the end and overplaying. If Auburn feels like it's a particular running play and he crashes and breaks down the run and stops the run, he has an opportunity to be disruptive in both running and passing attacks.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously what he represents as far as, okay, if Baylor chooses to double him, which I think they'll have to in some certain situations, you leave a tight end in, which they're really high on Michael Trigg, the former Ole Miss tight end. Like, not a guy you really want blocking, but if you're taking a guy away from, running downfield, that's only going to help Auburn's defensive backs. But then you've got Malik Blockton and you've got Kieran Crawford. And one of the things we've talked so much about this offseason is obviously, none of these guys can be double teamed. But typically where you see the most common form of a double team is in the interior. And if there's any sort of stress on the edges, which I think will be caused by Keldric and Kieran Crawford, a name to watch out for in this is if Malik Blockton is one-on-one with a center or one-on-one with a guard, depending on the alignment and the pass protection, all of that. That's a matchup that Auburn will take every single pass rushing attempt. And I'm not saying Malik Blockton is going to have multiple sacks or anything like that, but watch his ability to push the pocket and create pressure up the middle. Because against a quarterback like Sawyer Robertson, who can move, but that's not his priority. That's not plan A for Sawyer Robertson. I think Malik Blockton, it's not going to show up in the stat sheet. It might show up on some of the PFF defensive grades when they drop on Sunday as far as pressures and pass rushing grade. But I think Malik Blockton is going to fly under the radar and have a major impact tonight.
Pushing the pocket is such an underrated skill set. I'm glad you said it because it popped into my mind when you were going through and explaining. What happens is, and people can talk about, Baylor people can say all they want about Sawyer Robertson can move out of the pocket and all that, but he's more, that's true, but he's more effective and he's more comfortable stepping up into the pocket and making throws downfield. If you're disruptive and you're pushing the center or the guard into the backfield on either a Robertson pass or a delayed handoff, you're blowing the play up. And look, if you're trying to step up in the pocket and you're a quarterback and you can't do it, what does that make you do, Zach? It makes you throw flat-footed or off the back foot. You do that against this secondary,
underthrown.
You see what I'm saying? You can't
intercepted.
There are certain guys
23 running down the sideline.
Yep. There are certain guys, even at the college level, that were able to do it. They're able to throw flat-footed or off balance. I mean, you're talking about the John Elways, the Dan Maritos.
Need a special arm to do that.
Favre did it in college, right? Aaron Rodgers can do it. Even somebody like Tom Brady, who I think and Joe Montana are the two greatest quarterbacks in the NFL history, they had to step into their throws. Brady wasn't the guy to throw off the back foot. This guy's got to step into his throw. And if you disrupt that and make him throw flat-footed and the ball doesn't get there with the amount of velocity it's supposed to, that's what I'm talking about. Maybe an average secondary, you get away with it, not Auburn secondary. And what if you push the pocket and you at least create so much movement that you're able to bat it down at the line of scrimmage, right? I mean, it's not always a sack. It's not always the sack. And so that's where I'm really starting to come along and really look at and go, man, the defensive line for Auburn. And it was telling to me that 3 different radio personalities and a former running back at Baylor when I was on shows specifically asked me about Auburn's interior defensive line. Why? I think because there's a concern there with what they could do to the interior offensive line of Baylor.
I've said it all offseason. The trenches points Auburn's direction. And as we get closer and closer and these camp reports come out on both sides, I think that's the matchup that we need to look at. And also, Auburn fans should be super stoked about this, assuming it comes to fruition tonight. Because if the Auburn offense takes a while to get going, if this matchup between Auburn's defensive front and Baylor's offensive line goes the way that we think it could, that's going to buy time for the Auburn offense to get going. It's going to buy them time if they can keep this lower scoring, make sure Jackson Arnold's comfortable, figure out ways to get guys involved in the offense. And over the course of 60 minutes, in theory, your pass rush should get even stronger with the depth that they have. You got Chris Kelly coming in, Amaris Williams. I mean, we've listed all their names a million times. I think this is just something where if you can punch them in the mouth early and let them know, hey, Keldric Faulk is a problem. Malik Blockton is a problem. Kieran Crawford is a problem. That's something that Auburn can ride for the entire 60 minutes. Give Jackson Arnold some time to develop and get comfortable in the game plan. And I think Auburn can wear him down.
It's why James Ash is so important. And I mentioned him as a specific under-the-radar player, because what you're talking about Blockton doing, he can't do it for the whole game. And I'm telling you, it's hot down here. It is absolutely oppressive hot. 96 today or yesterday, 92 at kickoff, 88 with 5 mile per hour winds. That's hot.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to need depth. I mean, I'm not a weatherman all of a sudden. People think I'm James Spann. I'm not. I'm telling you all this because of the depth factor. James Ash can bring that same kind of energy and skill set of pushing the pocket and getting penetration that Blockton can. And so there can't be that much of a drop-off. Blockton's better. I think he is. But the drop-off can't be great that you see, they got their number 2 defensive tackle in. I don't think that's going to happen. I think James Ash is going to make some plays. And, Walker, the nose guard, and you got
– Do they
Jordan
put Keldric
Johnson
inside? Can't wait to see that. That's what he told us at media days.
Yep.
He's like, yeah, that's what I do best. Okay.
Yeah. It's going to be – I'm really, really starting to like that matchup more and more as an advantage to Auburn.
Yeah. Yeah. Other matchups to discuss as well as what's at stake here, because there is another matchup that I think points in Auburn's favor pretty dramatically. That's next right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets. If you're in Waco and you don't have tickets yet, that's actually okay. That's actually okay, because Game Time, the prices leading up to kickoff, they drop. Right now, as we record this, you can get in. You can get into McLean Stadium right now, all-in price, of $59 if you want to go general admission. That's all in. That's taxes, fees. And look, if you use code Locked On College, you can get $20 off your ticket purchase as well. So if you went to Waco and you're like, I'm just going to tailgate or sailgate, as they say, or, you're changing your mind, whatever it might be, Game Time has you covered. Darrell, Game Time's the only ticketing app you use. It's the only ticketing app I use. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Lockdown College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code Lockdown College for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Kia Autosport of Columbus. You love customer service, Darrell. You're really good at customer service yourself, and you want the best customer service and the best deals, especially when you're talking about buying something as big as a vehicle.
Anybody can make that initial sales pitch.
Yep.
But when you do it, follow up customer service after the sales while you come back and you're a repeat buyer.
Yep. Head over to Kia Autosport of Columbus. Obviously just a short drive from Auburn, Opelika, the Atlanta area. Doesn't matter. They're just off of Whittlesey Boulevard in Columbus, Georgia. And when you get there, ask for Chris Child. Mention the show. Mention Locked On Auburn. You're going to get $500 off just for doing that off of any new Kia purchase. And you can save up to $3,000 off of MSRP on select 2025 Kia Sorento models as well. So once again, Kia Autosport of Columbus, or you can visit their website at KiaAutosportColumbus.com to browse their full inventory and start saving today. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Happy game day. Like, we made it. Just quick applause for everybody. We made it. What a crazy offseason.
Ashton Daniels, you got your says,
Ashton Daniels auto.
It's here. Let's go.
We're ready to rock and roll. Will we see him tonight? That's we probably could do a full segment on that. As far as the other matchup, I still think, I know there's questions and discussion about Eric Singleton and his knee and what his availability is. I think regardless of Eric Singleton's availability, I mean, Hugh Freeze says that he's getting close to 100% earlier in the week. Hopefully, these few days are enough for him to heal and be where Auburn wants him to be. But between him, Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, Sam Turner, Horatio Fields, I just don't think you can hide this talent, regardless of who's at quarterback, regardless of your scheme. I think this is going to be something that Baylor, like similar to the defensive line, they cannot prepare for in practice because that type of talent and depth is not on the roster. And so we went with one matchup favoring the defense. This is the matchup favoring Auburn's offense that I haven't been able to shake. I think this is going to be a fun opportunity for this elite wide receiver room.
First of all, an 80% or an 85% Eric Singleton has to play for no other reason that he's still really, really good at that percentage. But what he does, taking pressure off Cam Coleman. You can't double Cam Coleman even with Singleton at 85 or 90%. So that's why that's very important. And I apologize for the helicopter noise in the background. I don't know if we're getting attacked or what. But this
I don't hear it. You're good.
Okay,
it's not
good.
Coming through. You're good.
So the other thing is the depth of the receivers. I mean, Malcolm Simmons kind of being under the radar and what he's going to be able to do. I have preached the Horatio Fields love all since A-Day game. Mm-hmm. Perry Thompson, Sam Turner.
Yes.
If your secondary is a little bit depleted anyway, who do you choose to put on Coleman if your best one of your best defenders is not playing? Now, I don't know who their best on-ball defender is. I suspect that's who they'll put on Coleman. But then that means somebody is going to be on Singleton that's not. Somebody that's even third down the
I don't think they
order.
do sides of the field. I don't think they do that with Dave Aranda's defense. So I think we might actually even be able to dictate matchups a little bit as well.
If you do that and you have somebody that's like the fourth best defensive back on the team covering Malcolm Simmons, it's curtains. I mean, I'm just telling you. Now, if you get the ball off and if you do what you're supposed to do from an offensive line standpoint, protect Jackson Arnold, and if you let the routes run their run the routes progress like they should. I don't know. One of the things I'm looking forward to, I've heard that these receivers that Auburn has, some of the transfer portals, some of the recruits, there are guys that are actually really, really adept at catching slants and stuff like that, the quick hitters. And Jackson Arnold's very effective at that. I mean, I really want to see the run after the catch, right? We see long bombs a lot and throws in the middle of the field. I want to see that 10-yard slant and somebody just split the safeties and go. And I think Auburn finally has that kind of firepower.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we heard Coach Freeze talk about the decision making of Jackson Arnold at his presser on Monday, said that he's made good decisions as of late. And that's part of what makes this Hugh Freeze offense potentially dangerous, is because if in theory, like there's all these rules within a play, and depending on, all right, if this guy does this, then I go look at this. And if this guy does this, then I look at this, to where if he makes the right decision, these receivers are going to be open and these receivers are going to have opportunity. And so if you take what the scheme gives you and you allow these guys to operate within the system of the offense, and he gets it to the right guy quickly and on time, and the receiver is where he needs to be at a certain point in the development of the play, it's all going to take care of itself. And it doesn't matter if it's deep. It doesn't matter if it's short and then you run it long. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. And so I hope everything's drawn up in a way where nobody has to do too much, where everybody can just do their job specifically at quarterback and just allow guys to win one-on-one matchups. You don't have to do too much, Jackson Arnold. Just get the guys the ball. And look, if you're going to hold on to the ball, like I think Auburn's defense is going to be fine. Like, hold on to the ball. Just don't turn it over. Just don't turn it over. In drives and a kick. And if that happens, Auburn will win the football game.
There has been a narrative for months now swelling that Jackson Arnold just has to be a game manager. He just has to play solid. He just doesn't have to make mistakes. His decisions just have to be good. Basically, just be decent, right? And I get that. And that will win Auburn 7 or 8 games if he's that way. But where I push back on that a little bit for the narrative that's out there is that there are going to be explosive plays there where, you know, as a quarterback, sometimes you do have to be a little bit of a gunslinger. You do have to take a risk. And if Auburn wants to get into the 9-10 win territory, he's going to have to make some plays and win some games where he's not just a game manager. He's not just playing solid. He's not just not making mistakes in Auburn's punting. And I think now this kind of game where you're opening up on the road, I think Auburn gets away with that. I think if Jackson Arnold plays turnover-free football, makes the right decisions, let's just throw out a generic number. Let's say he's, 20 of 30 for 280 yards and a touchdown or 2, okay? Nothing that jumps off the page at you, even if he just throws for 220 and he's, 20 of 26. Yeah. Auburn can win the game as long as they have a decent running game and their defense.
I would take that stat line right now.
That's assuming you're running it for 150 to 200 yards, that he's running it some with his legs and that skill set, and that
your defense is doing its job.
The defense is doing its job. And then that becomes a game that's like, 27-17, something like that. So, I mean, the one thing I like about this matchup, and this isn't coming from a place of arrogance, it's when I look at all the different ways Auburn can win this game, it's multifaceted. It's not just, oh God, Auburn better keep Baylor in the 20s or they ain't going to win. Or Auburn better, there's different ways. You talked about the scenario, which would be a nightmare, like a 10-6 game. I mean, if it's like Cal a couple years ago, which is amazing to me, a game on the road early in the year against the nickname team Bears with a 40,000-seat stadium, the similarities are just jumping off the page at me. But if it's like that game where, that game was in the teens, right? That was real low scoring. I mean, who knows? I don't know. I just think Auburn has a lot more offensive firepower than they did 2 years ago.
Yeah, I agree. And a better offensive line. I mean, almost all of the roster.
And a better quarterback. And a better quarterback. That's the key.
Yeah.
Better
for sure.
Quarterback.
For sure. I would say this Baylor team is better than that Cal team. I would say that.
Yes, I would too.
I actually think a lot better.
Yeah.
I think Baylor's a good team, Darrell.
I think they're good. I've said it all along. They're a good team. I've not said that they're not. I think that they're and I think they're one of the most difficult opening opponents on the road that Auburn's had, like I said, since 2002 USC.
Yeah. So what's at stake, and also our final predictions. That's next right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Upside. Are you still paying full price for gas? You don't have to anymore. Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in your phone's app store and start earning cash at the pump today. Use our limited time promo code FOOTBALL. I believe it has to be in all caps. FOOTBALL, and get 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas that you already need. Why not? Why not? Don't let this offer drive by. Download the free Upside app now by using our code FOOTBALL for a limited time 25-cent gallon per gallon bonus. That's promo code FOOTBALL. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We've got an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't like, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for helping out the Locked On Podcast Network. Obviously, what's at stake here is massive. It's massive. Can Auburn still achieve its goals if it loses tonight? Yes. Yes, you can still get wins in Norman, in College Station. And in fact, if you won both of those games, I think you could totally right the ship. But obviously, if you dropped it tonight, there's going to be lots of questions about Hugh Freeze. There's going to be lots of questions of like, okay, what's the point of getting all the talent on this roster if you can't win games like this? I'm not predicting that happen. I'm not predicting that to happen at all, Darrell. I think Auburn wins this game. I said it earlier in the week, 27-17. I think it's close throughout. That in the fourth quarter, something happens where Auburn puts himself in a situation to have a decent enough lead to win by 2 scores, 10-ish points. That is my prediction. Despite there being more pressure on Auburn than Baylor, I think this is one of the first moments in a while where there's pressure on Auburn and they come through and they win a football game.
Well, this is why I think it's such an important game. I agree that they could still, in theory and theoretically, I'm not going to panic if they lose. They still have a lot to play for and right the ship. But in my opinion, Baylor could lose this game. I think this game is bigger for Auburn than it is Baylor. I'm not saying
it's not close.
It's not. Yeah, Auburn. If Baylor could lose this game, and I could still see a clear path of them winning 9. Auburn could lose this game
and competing for a spot in the Big 12, which means you're competing for a spot in the college football playoff.
If Auburn loses this game, I think it's a lot more difficult to get to 9 wins. I really do. I'm counting this game as a game Auburn has to have if they want to win 9 games. So that being said, and the talent level and some of the things that I just think from a matchup standpoint, and I'm not disrespecting Baylor at all. I just got done saying they can win 9 games this year or 10 games and be in the Big 12 championship game. I think Auburn wins 31-23. I think Auburn's defense plays really, really well. I think their defense sets up or scores a touchdown themselves.
What's your score again, Darrell?
31-23.
Okay.
So I could see a scenario where a pick 6 comes into play, or a scenario where a turnover gives Auburn the ball at the 10-yard line, and it's offensively they score, but the defense is why. This special team scenario, I really like what Auburn can do from a matchup standpoint. Now, if this game gets ugly and it's in the muck and it's just no one's moving the ball and it's very boring offensively and it's like this typical early season game where both teams are feeling each other out and nothing's getting going offensively, that still plays to Auburn's strength, in my opinion, because I think Auburn's defense is superior. And so, I like the matchup, even though I like Baylor, and I think Baylor will end up at the end of the year being a top 25 football team. I could look through their schedule and see 8 or 9 wins, regardless.
No,
of what
it's
happens.
there. It's there.
So
they're similar to Auburn. They got to get through the first month of the season. Then
they got SMU and somebody else.
Arizona State, I think, is the other one.
Yeah, pretty early. Yeah. And they also got Samford. I know that. I know they play Samford. So they've got a pretty tough schedule.
Whoa. Yeah, no, I mean, they build up the Houston Cougars defense too. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Another prediction that I'm going to throw out there is, this is the biggest game tonight. Like, this is going to get some national attention because people are craving football being back. Obviously, the games Thursday night were a little bit of an appetizer. Week 0 was fun with K-State and Iowa State. But I think this is going to be a big one. There's going to be a lot of national attention Friday. And I think the discussions Friday evening / Saturday morning going into the rest of the slate of week 1 is going to be, oh my goodness, Auburn's defense is going to be crazy. And I don't think it really matters what Jackson Arnold does. I'm anticipating that Auburn's defense is going to make a statement. There will be some retractors that say, oh my goodness, but it's Baylor. They can't do anything against good defenses historically, whatever. And I think most people are going to say, no, that looked like it's supposed to. Auburn's defense looked like it's supposed to as far as pressure, as far as suffocating, coverage downfield with these DBs, and then just the athleticism at linebacker. I think it's going to check a lot of boxes, Darrell. I think that's going to be the biggest national takeaway regarding the Auburn Tigers in this game.
Yeah, and I think, though, even though that could be the narrative, and I agree with you, Baylor could still end up scoring 17 to 20 points, and it doesn't look like it's a whitewash or a really, really dominant defensive performance. Yeah. But then as the season goes on and Baylor's hanging 40 on people, you're like, wow, that Auburn defense held them to 20. You see what I'm saying? It becomes even more of a narrative as the season goes on when they're playing Big 12 defenses and really just, putting up big numbers. So, yeah. As you know, you have people that you talk to and you have really, really good sources. I have heard that this is, as far as the excitement level of a defense, as good as going into a season since 2019 when Brown and Davidson and some of those linebackers and, Auburn had McCreary back there and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun opportunity for this defense. Programming throughout the weekend. I will go live as soon as Auburn and Baylor wraps up. It'll be that way for every game this season. Saturday morning, this will normally be Sunday morning, but obviously for tomorrow morning, Darrell and I will have a show for you that drops Saturday morning, and then I'll have something that drops for you Sunday morning as well. I don't know exactly what that'll look like yet. It might depend on, scheduling and also what happens tonight. But we will have you covered tonight, immediately after the game, tomorrow morning, and Sunday morning, no matter what happens. Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on, of course, outside of those things I just mentioned? You can follow me on X, DAP6410. If anything, any little nugget drops, so I'm out here. I think I'll be going live at halftime from the press box with Kyle Rush of the Barn, kind of giving a little bit of breakdown. So, there's going to be a lot of content coming out the next 3 days. Yeah, Kyle will be going live for the entirety of the football game tonight over at thebarnauburn.com, and I'll hop in there as well. So be sure to make sure you're watching that. It's kind of your second screen experience. But please like the video. Please subscribe. We will see you next time. That'll be after the football game. Crazy to say. We made it. This has been Locked on Auburn.